What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com. Here with a couple names you know. Where don't you know them from? It's Matt Jackson. It's Nick Jackson. It's the Young Bucks. They have a new book out. It's available everywhere. Matt and Nick, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
What an intro.
Yeah. I'm really excited to check out this book over the holiday season, especially. I was actually just talking to Danny Limelight, and he had to stop reading the book to do our interview.
Good.
That's funny.
I mean,
It means a lot coming. What's funny is that we the last several weeks, a bunch of the talent have been popping into our EVP office and asking us for copies and genuinely telling us that it's been an easy read, and they're saying they're not readers and they're enjoying it. So that to me says a lot. Okay, good. We made a book that even the boys like, because most of the wrestlers we're not really book guys. So I'm glad that the guys and the girls are liking it.
Right.
Did you all have any specific wrestling books that you grew up on? I mean, I know that when I was a bit younger, I read Jericho's and Mick Foley's, and those were the two that really set the bar.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even the Hardys. I remember reading the Hardys as a young kid and thinking that how cool that was. So it was always a part of what we liked as teenagers. I can remember reading the Shawn Michaels book as well. Bret Hart was one of my favorites. I think Matt was most inspired by the Foley books.
Yeah, I remember being freshman in high school, and for whatever reason, my teacher in language arts had it on our bookshelf. I couldn't believe it. And, anytime it was, we called it SSR, sustained silent reading, I would always grab Nick's book and read it. And I ended up reading it probably 4 or 5 times, book, front to back. And that maybe since it was the first one I read, that one always comes to mind. But the Chris Jericho book, the first one particularly, that one really resonated with me. And then the Bret Hart book, man, I couldn't believe the amount of detail that he put into it because of all the recordings he has. Those are probably the holy grail. Those 3 for me are the ones that inspired me the most.
Even to this day, when I see Warlord's name, I think back to Jericho's book, and I remember him calling him Warlord. and when I would see Wardlow for a while, that's immediately what came to mind was Jericho calling Warlord Wardlow.
That's great.
We've seen Mick Foley write several books, and they're consistently successful. You guys are nowhere near done in your careers, I would imagine. So, I mean, is that already in your mind, if this takes off, which it already has, that you all might do another one down the line?
I think the way we ended it, there's definitely something you can do with the second. And who knows, like you said, we're so early in our career, maybe even a third, but it was very hard to do. And I think it would have to be after we're done with wrestling or with our duties as being EVPs, because of how hard and how much work it took to get this one done. I don't think we realized how hard it would be.
Yeah, I think that if we ever did do another one, and immediately it's funny because as soon as we finished this book, I remember telling Nick I'll never do it again because it was so hard. But now that the book's done and everybody's enjoying it, and I get to hold it in my hands, God, maybe we should do another one. It's almost like when you have a kid and you're like, I'm never doing that again. That was so hard, that was scary, that was it was like this really crazy thing that happened in your life, and you swore you never wanted to relive it again, but then you have the kid and you're like, oh my God, we have to have another one. And it's maybe, like Nick said, we wouldn't be able to do it probably for a while, or probably when we're unattached from what we're currently doing, because I truly would want to do a tell-all. And I think the best way to do that is when those attachments are all gone. I didn't want to write about our time in Japan or with ROH until we were removed from those places, because it's just, you can't really give you can't really be completely honest until you have moved on, so maybe later down in the line we do the sequel 5-10 years from now when we're done as EVPs, or who knows, maybe we're going to do this for life. I don't know, but yeah, maybe way down the line we could do a fun part 2, I think.
So in writing this book, I mean, you all are brothers, but you all are two distinctly different people. Were there ever times when you guys would have points of contention, so to speak, about how things went down or how you felt about certain situations?
Oh man. Yeah, for sure. But like Matt has a better memory than me, so I would have to ask him, like, if a thing went down the way I saw it, and of course he would have a similar version, but he would have a more detailed version of it. So he helped me out with a lot of that type of stuff because we're like the same human being. Like we've had the same career, the same stories. We've seen everything the same way, almost exactly. So that was an interesting part of making the book because of our views on things are so alike, you know?
Yeah. And one of the most challenging things, I think, writing it would be, you know, we would tag in and out of chapters, and we're so good at doing our entire career, but just to keep the timeline moving forward. And we wanted to capture the most important time, like things that happen in those time frames. And sometimes I'd be like, oh man, I really wanted to get this story in, but now my time has passed and now Nick's taking over these, you know, these chapters. Like it was kind of a struggle to get all of the stuff that you wanted in there while you're trying to keep this timeline moving forward. And I remember in the beginning, I was writing with such great detail that I would show my wife everything. And at times she'd just be like, you're going to have to start picking things up here. You know, you're 20 pages in and you're like 2 years old still or whatever. It's like, so like there were, you know, we had to comb through everything. And after rewrites and revisions and whatnot, I think we finally landed on the perfect amount of everything. I was very happy with it. I didn't want a super long book. Like I said, like I was writing a book every time in mine when I was on my chapters. Like I was writing a book that I think that people, you know, younger kids would like. We have a younger demo that watches our show, so I figured I want a book that would keep their attention. I want to have chapters that are binge worthy, where like you know, you're flipping the pages and you're going, God, you know, I got to see what happens in the next chapter. Like, so like we specifically wanted to have each chapter end with some type of cliffhanger. We thought of it almost like we were writing the book like it was a Netflix series, you know what I mean? So you'd want to hurry up and binge it all and finish it. And for the most part, that's what I've heard is like people are saying they're reading it in 1, 2, 3 sittings. And that's great. Like, that's what I wanted. I didn't want to have one of those books that collects dust because you're just like, God, it's such a chore. This chapter's 100 pages. You know what I mean? So like, I think what we ended up landing on, you know, was the perfect amount for the audience that specifically likes us.
One of the things that you guys talk about in the book are, of course, your times with New Japan and Ring of Honor. And one of the most interesting stories that I thought emerged last year was an interview that you guys did, I think, with Bleacher Report, and you talked about how things could have been different if New Japan and Ring of Honor had offered you guys dual contracts. When you look back at that, why do you think that they didn't, considering the role that everything was on? And I mean, MSG selling out with, you know, with the implication that you guys and some other people might be involved. Why do you all think that didn't happen?
Yeah, good question.
Right. Oh man. Man, now looking back, it's so hard to even answer because it would have changed wrestling if we just stayed put. You know what I mean?
You know, I'd even say that I was talking to my wife oddly about this last night, this very thing. And because we just like to kind of like think about like, what if, you know, it went this way? What if we did it this way? Truthfully, we were happy, and we probably would have never have left if the right offer came. 100% honestly, you know, I was having the time of my life, and we were just waiting for a really good offer because we knew that was the year that it was time to get paid because we were as hot as we'd ever been, and you know, we just did all in. And yeah, like you just said, the Garden sold out. Most people say because of the Elite, you know, and so we knew we had a big price tag. And when they made their offer, it was so below what we were thinking it was going to be that for the first time ever, Nick and I said to each other, oh my God, I think we have to actually go out and shop and see what our street value is. Like, if they would have just hit a number, we wouldn't have even probably shopped. We probably would have just taken it because we were having so much fun, going from town to town, closing every show with our little Being the Elite song and dance at the end. Like it was a great, wonderful time. Why didn't New Japan and ROH get together to offer all of us the money that we thought we deserved? I don't know. I don't think, like, in hindsight, they didn't know that this new project was happening. They didn't know All Elite Wrestling was going to be a thing. Nobody did. And I think maybe now, looking back, if they knew that, there was this project looming, then they probably would have offered us anything. You know what I mean? And it was funny because WWE didn't even know that this project was happening, but they were willing to throw everything at us. So I'd only imagine if they knew what was happening, what they probably would have offered on top of that. You know what I mean? Like that blows my mind even thinking about that. But I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think that maybe they felt like they didn't need us all. Maybe they felt like they would have been fine without us. Nick and I knew, though, like we basically compared our show Being the Elite at the tail end was pretty much like ROH television.
Yeah.
And it was the driving force to what brought people to the show. And I'm not over exaggerating when I say that if a wrestling fan at an ROH show had a shirt on, there was an 80-90% chance it was a Bullet Club or a Being the Elite related shirt. So we knew that was our audience. And maybe they just didn't realize how deep it had gotten and how much of that audience was strictly ours and there for us. Maybe they just didn't have the awareness, but I don't know. That's a good question that you're probably going to have to ask them. You know what I mean?
And I'm not exactly a business person, but it seems like in that situation, you pay the people whatever you can to get them to stay. And if you make $1 off of them in that regard, it's like, okay, well, they're dragging in an awful lot of people to view my show that obviously now in Ring of Honor's case, not taking a shot at them, just aren't tuning into the show.
Correct. And, and here's the thing, like, I don't want to disrespect ROH too, because it wasn't like it was a bad offer.
Sure.
Like by no means, it wasn't a small amount of money. It just wasn't enough for us because at this point we'd valued ourselves. Like we knew our value and it was very high and it just wasn't close to what we thought. So maybe they thought their offer was good enough. You know what I mean? But it wasn't even, in our eyes, it wasn't even close. And when the validation basically for us to know that we were right and our value was right was the first offer Triple H made us. And that's when we looked at each other and we said, holy crap, like,
Right.
How long have we been worth this much? Like, it was almost like we weren't insulted. We were just like, wow, like
it was
I wish we would have did this sooner. Like.
But you know what? At the end of the day, though, we knew that our thing had ran its course at Ring of Honor and New Japan. Like, looking back now, like, I think it was perfect timing for all of us to split ways because I think we had peaked with what we would have done there. So it felt like just a natural way to leave at that point.
So I would imagine that your discussions with Triple H were pretty positive if he's offering you that kind of a deal.
Yeah, they were all. We talk about that in the book. He was great, charming dude. He said all the right things, and I don't know how many times I told him no. We must have declined the offer. In the end, I don't want to exaggerate. It had to have been at least 4 or 5 times, and by the end of every conversation, he would have another call scheduled with me in 2 weeks. Like, and I would go, how did he do that? Like, what? I just told him no. Like, I'm like, what? And we would be laughing by the end of the conversation. The conversation would start with me saying, I'm so sorry. We're going to pass on this. Thank you so much. And an hour later, I'm talking about our next phone call in 2 weeks. It's just like, he's a magician. And he, like, no wonder he has the job he has, because he's a charming guy and he'll charm your socks off. And I have nothing but positive things to say about him. Like, he's very intelligent too. The things he said, the ideas he had, like, I at times I told Nick, I'm like, man, maybe this is something you should at least consider, And there was a time when me, Nick, and Kenny, the three of us were like, holy crap, I think we're all going to end up in the WWE.
It was a very tough decision at one point.
Yeah. Well, let's keep up the positive vibes. I do something the complete opposite of burying people in a segment here. We call it shooting softly, where we ask you to say nice things about specific people in wrestling. And we'll start with a guy from WWE that you guys know, Kevin Owens.
Oh man. Let's see. There's a lot to say because we got such a history with him. We still talk to him to this day. We love him, man. He's great.
Yeah, I think he was one of the guys who took us under his wing in the early days. Like he saw something special in us, and I think he knew that we were going to be a part of the new like crop of the top indie guys, and he attached himself to us. And he's one of the very first people who gave us a rub. And just being friends with him by association and being involved with him in storylines and having matches with him, like people immediately accepted that we were cool. And to this day, we'll never forget that.
A guy who has really emerged on being the elite. How about John Silver?
Oh my God. Who would have known? He's so good. And man, I'm just so happy that we've been able to give him like this platform to show how funny he really is.
Yeah, he's got that natural wit and charm, and people are attracted to him. And like Nick, I'm so glad that people are finally getting to see it.
Also, technically, the best person on the roster at throwing mustard into a bowl.
That's a good
Technically. Shaq, who we've seen pop up on the show, a TNT fixture, an LA fixture even.
Right. Man, I got goosebumps seeing him stand up for me and Matt as soon as we got backstage and gave us a standing ovation after our FTR match. Like the 10-year-old me would have like cried his eyes out. Like I'm a massive NBA fan, so like obviously Shaq is a huge part of that. And for him to enjoy a match that we had, that was so crazy to me.
He's genuinely the largest person I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Like, I mean, when you all signed with AEW and Nick, you being a big NBA fan, did your mind immediately get racing? Like, oh, I hope there's some crossover.
Oh, right away. That was literally like the first thing I thought of.
I always
I watch TNT religiously,
Same. Like that's the thing. Like if the same game is on ESPN, I'm watching it on TNT. I'd prefer TNT because I want to hear Shaq and Barkley talk trash to each other. When I see Shaq out there, I'm like, wow, I hope they get Barkley to just talk trash to him during whatever match he's in.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Another name. How about Tony Khan, the founder of AEW?
Oh man, he's a genius. And man, I'm just so happy that he took this risk and took us all in, and he really changed so many lives. And that's one thing that I always thank him for, is helping so many wrestlers out, because this has helped so much. And God, I'm so happy that he gave us a chance.
Yeah, he changed our lives, and he did it. Everything he said that he was going to do, he did, and that doesn't happen often in this business.
A couple more names as we wrap up. Thunder Rosa, we've seen her pop up an NWA fixture, but we've seen her a lot on AEW, and it's exposed her to a completely different audience.
She's great. Super solid. I think one of the best that have come through. I hope that we can do a lot more stuff with her, because she's got something special. I love her look too. Completely agree. She's awesome.
And then FTR, who you guys had one of the greatest tag team matches of all time with.
Man, I'll take it.
That.
Thanks.
Yeah.
They're
one of the best tag teams I've ever been in the ring with. Right.
Yeah, I think nobody takes wrestling more serious than them. They eat, breathe, and sleep this business. And it was intimidating watching them come in for 4 or 5 months before we wrestled them, and just seeing the way that they did things, and they put so much thought into this. And I don't know if I've ever met two more passionate guys about the business than those guys. I'm so glad they're on our team.
Guys, make sure you check out Young Bucks killing the business from backyards to the big leagues. Again, I'm very excited to check this out over the holiday season, read a little bit more of it. Guys, thank you all so much for taking the time. It's my first time interviewing these guys, or you guys. I'm so excited to do it.
Thanks man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man.
Until next time, guys, we're out.